ladies and gentlemen, I am the Dutchman, and today we're going to take a look at a new ship. Now, normally when a new ship has found its way into the mod, I upload a picture, or if it's a larger ship, like the Executor or something, I'll upload a video with some appropriate music. But this time I'm doing a small commentary because I thought this ship deserved some special attention.
Enemy forces ahead.
It requires a little bit of explaining. Because the Subjugator is, in the mod, it's a special ship. It's a very large ship, 5 kilometers long. Oh, shut up.
Dispatch them so that we can
I'll let
secure
this guy
orbit for
finish.
the Empire.
Okay. So the Subjugator class in the mod is unique in the sense that it is a huge neutrally buildable ship. Normally these huge star battlecruisers like a Bellator or the Annihilator, which is the Purifier, they can only be built by the Empire since they specialize in larger ships. But the Subjugator is supposed to be a neutrally buildable one, so it can be built by both the Rebellion and the criminal underworld as well. Yeah, that's the main thing. The second thing is, since it is basically a support ship, I decided to set it up as a capital killing ship, which basically means that it's got a lot of firepower and anti-ship firepower, and it also has the signature ion cannons on the side. Now, about its weaponry, let's go over that fairly quickly. It's got 7 quite unremarkable laser cannon batteries. It's got 14 turbo laser batteries, which are quite rapid fire. 6 hangars, 2 shield generators, and 144 dual turbo laser turrets located in the front. Now, all of those turrets can only fire in the front. That means basically a 180 arc in front of the ship. If you get behind it, there's really not a whole lot defending it. As I said, there's a few turbo laser and laser cannon batteries spread around the ship to help protect it, but it's mainly the front. So, the sides are also not entirely safe because of the ion cannons, but I'll explain that in a bit. I changed it into a special ability, so to say. So, that's the hardpoint layout. You can probably see why the front of this ship is most definitely the most dangerous part. Let's get these guys doing something. And why explain it when I can just show you? Okay, so the ion cannons are a little specific. They've got these targeting lasers on the side. Let's say we want to hit... Where could we get a nice? I think if we target that, we can hit 2 things. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to target that ship, and the ship will normally keep facing it. But the ion cannons can only fire sideways, so what I did is I rigged up a little neat ability which very slowly, but surely, turns the ship around. Now this is a little bit slow, and I think, yeah, we're not gonna hit multiple targets, I don't think. Actually, I maybe... Was it not targeting that one? I'm not sure. The targeting is a little wonky. Oh, no, that was the target. As you can see now, the thing lines up, it charges for a bit, and then the ion cannon will fire. And then it will hit this and everything else along its path. So the Venator was hit. Okay, so we didn't hit anything else. That's unfortunate. It does disable everything in the path of the ion projectile. This time it was only the Venator. It's lost all engine power, shield power, and firepower has been reduced by 75%, so it's pretty much useless right now. And in a bit, the ability will reset the ship. Yep, okay, very cool. The ability does take a bit to complete, but remember this ship and its ion cannons can disable superstar destroyers completely, so it's kind of worth it. Firing it at medium-sized capital ships like this is not quite its best purpose, so to say, but if you do hit multiple things in a line, then you are able to, as I said, just disable everything in the line. Yeah, and then the ability resets the ship, and now you have your battleship back, and you can target whatever. Like, for example, that thing, it will now, with its significant amount of hard points, start targeting the Dreadnought. Okay, so there's currently a bug going on where if you get too close to the ship, it will start, it will fire the ion cannons at whatever is close to the ship. In this case, it is this acclimator, and it will apply the particle effect to it, which is normally, yeah, the particle effect is now gone, but as you saw, the Venator had a disabled effect. That will also happen if you are too close to the ship. Now that's reasonably easy to fix, and I should probably get into that fairly quickly, of course, because it's major league annoying. But yeah,
Target those lasers.
that's actually all there is to this ship. Hello? Okay. Thought we were gonna crash there. Yeah, a lot of weapons. They're only really dangerous in the front. For example, these ships right here have very little to oppose them. These weapons couldn't fire at that if they tried. You can't fire the ion cannon sideways. They're also non-targetable, so you don't have to worry about the enemy destroying your most powerful weapon system. But let's show off the ability again. You do have to kind of make sure that the ship faces the target that you want to hit. And with face, I mean directly forward. So for example, now it is rotating into position. Oh, let's select it, thank you. Let's actually group it. It's facing, or it's turning to face that Venator, which is now its target. Now when it's this close, you can...
Target those lasers.
Oh. There's a cooldown issue right now with the ability, but everything is functional except like the last few things, like if you get too close to the ship, there's that issue, and there's a countdown issue on the ability, but for the rest, the whole ship works. Hardpoints are doing quite well. I'll talk a bit about balance a little later on, but first let's see the ship fire, because that is undoubtedly the best part of this entire ship, aside from its gargantuan turbo laser barrage, of course. Oh, we may actually be able to hit two things here. It may happen. Let's see. Okay, it's aligned, which means it'll fire any second. If it fires now, it'll hit the acclimator as well. No, that is very unfortunate. I may actually increase the hit range of the projectile, because currently it's no fun when it like never ever hits anything in a line, which is of course its signature design. Does take a bit to fire. As I said, there is a little bit of delay between it lining up and firing, which I set specifically so that you can actually correct the direction of the subjugator in case it's not facing its target. For example, that... Oh no, wait, it did that. Never mind. It hit that time, but if you don't face the ship perfectly... Oh, here we're gonna get another one of these situations. The annoying thing is that too many particles like this can actually cause crashes, but first it creates tremendous lag, so I always target these down first. This will be fixed later, don't worry, it's just a leftover shit thing basically. It's very annoying. But yeah, back to the ability for a bit. It'll now slowly reset the ship. That thing's almost gone. It's one large animation, which... Are you gonna do this again? We actually gonna crash this time? No, it's just... It seems particle-related stuff doesn't quite cause the crash, which is great, of course, because who the fuck likes crashes? Which is only really an issue because ships get this close and the particle is constantly applied to ships that are near the subjugator. Normally, of course, this is not an issue, because the projectile moves so quickly past the ships that it only applies the particle a few times. If it's constantly close to the subjugator, it will continue to get applied every second, and the particle effect does last for up to 50 seconds. So yeah, now we have our cruiser back, and we can direct it to target at whatever the hell we feel like. We are losing cannons, and we're losing them quite quickly, even though the normal 14 turbo laser and 7 laser cannon batteries have quite a bit of health. These turbo lasers are basically made of paper mache. There's a fuck ton of them, and they have a very impressive barrage, but once you start actually targeting them down, they go down very quickly. As you can see, this entire fleet here, they did get wrecked initially, but they're now really starting to damage the ship. And once these start getting targeted down, they're gonna fall fairly quickly. So that brings me to the point of pricing. Obviously, this is a very, very powerful ship with a lot of ship-to-ship weaponry, a lot of turbo lasers, and then of course these huge anti-capital ship ion cannons. It also has quite a large complement. It has 6 hangars, which are also not that tanky. They've already been taken out, I see. This ship carries about as many CIS fighters as that the Executor carries TIE fighters, but since CIS fighters are ships like Vulture droids and heavy missile platforms, they're absolute trash. So they're not that great, except the heavy missile platform, of course. That thing does a tremendous amount of damage. But that aside, it carries a large complement, it has a lot of weaponry, and it has the gargantuan ion cannons. What's the downside of this ship? The downside of this ship is that it actually doesn't have that much health. In fact, it really does not have a lot of health. It's got some shielding, but not that powerful, and its overall health, even though it has a lot of hard points, and apparently sometimes it doesn't quite register the hit. That's something I'll have to look into as well. I do think I know how to fix that. Yeah, once the projectiles actually hit, the hard points go down fairly quickly, and of course the price of the ship. The price of the ship is quite high. For reference, a Venator is 8,000 credits. A Dreadnought is, I think, 4,000. There's some acclimates in here too, which is 4,000. Yeah, 4,000 as well. It's not that big. The Subjugator in itself is 150,000, which is in line with the Purifier, the Annihilator class. We call that the Purifier in the mod. That also costs 150,000, and once the Bellator is back in game, it'll also have a price tag of 150,000. Those ships are significantly larger than this one, and they're also significantly more powerful. But simply because this is such a jack-of-all-trades ship, which actually does every trade well, I decided to just up this up to the cost, because let's be honest, this ship is it's powerful, and not just because it currently has some collision issues, which I still need to fix. As I said, once the collision issues are actually fixed, as you can see, the turbo is going up fairly quickly. But yeah, that's about all there is. Let's see if we can fire the ion cannon one more time. We are completely going to get destroyed here. Which is also the point of these ships. The reason they're so gargantuanly expensive and takes such a tremendous long time to make. This one in particular costs 400 seconds, which in game time is actually a lot, especially in the Galactic Conquest map. But yeah, the point behind the high cost and the high build time is, of course, that we want these huge ships, which are so powerful and so effective in combat, to actually be very rare and to be rarely cost effective. What does that mean? That basically means that I want a fleet of the same cost as the ship to be able to take the ship out. Preferably twice, because that means you can't just... It basically has to do with balance and how to cost things according to the power level, and I found that if you do it this way and you let a fleet of, say, instead of 150,000 credits, or again, that issue again, let's see if we can move the ship. Oh no, wait, it's in the middle of its moving animation. See if we can move it anyway. What was I saying? Right, ship cost. I aim to have super ships such as... kind of losing my voice, sorry here. I aim to have ships such as the Executor and the Eclipse, and, well, of course, this thing. Here you can see the lag caused by this hit particle. I try to have ships of these cost and these power levels cost about twice to thrice what they're worth, so that you can actually, before this ship, you could take out with a fleet that would only cost you, say, 75,000 credits or 100,000 credits instead of 150,000 credits. That way it's still a little fair to be able to build these super ships, so that you can have that massive battleship if you really want one, but you're not really going to be very cost effective, and a wave of bomber squadrons, for example, will destroy this ship. It'll destroy an Executor or an Eclipse very, very cost effectively. For likely like a fifth of the cost lost in bombers, you could absolutely destroy these super capital ships, which is basically how I want the mod set up. Oh, this is getting bad. This frame rate, god awful.
I get it.
Yeah, I'll have to tweak the animation a bit. I think, is it still applying the particle effect to the dreadnought? It may still. I can't even see if it's in there, to be honest. Yeah, it's still in there, which means it's still getting applied. Okay, so well, I mean, I think I talked about everything. The cost of the super ships, the fact that this thing can basically do everything well. It is a heavy carrier. It is a very powerful gun barge, at least in its front. If you get to the rear of the ship, then it's really unprotected, and it can disable ships with its massive ion cannons. Before you ask in the comment section, these large lines here are not actually a bug. I intentionally made those as, say, targeting lasers to help you see that you're targeting the right ship before the ion blast actually fires. Yeah, that out of the way. Cost, balance. I think that's about it. I'd love to show you the rest of this battle and the fact that the ship is just getting completely wrecked. The fleet that is destroyed here is significantly cheaper than that the ship was. I did that intentionally just to demonstrate that yes, you can very easily destroy ships of this power level with a cost-effective fleet, even if it's an anti-fleet ship like this one, as opposed to the Eclipse, which is more like single target removal. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna watch this slugfest anymore. I want to fix this this graphical issue. This is a problem. I simply have to tweak the rigging of the ship a bit. This ability is basically you select the target, you right click on the target again just to make the ship face the target exactly, and then it'll automatically rotate the ship 90 degrees slowly to align the ion cannons, and then there'll be a short time between the alignment and the actual cannon firing so that you have time to correct any misalignments, because you only get one of these shots every 60 seconds, well, at least once the recharge time is fixed. And you of course don't want it to miss. So that aside, I think then we finally hit everything. Okay, well I'm gonna get out of this slugfest.